Good morning, children. Today we are going to see about history, first lesson, 7th standard, tracing changes through 1000 years. Before getting into the lesson, I just wanted to convey some information about learning history. Learning history, some of you may feel about a little bit bored or a little bit hard, but the learning history is very much easy until unless you are very much familiar in English. If you are very much familiar in English and if you are strong in your language, learning history is very much easier. First of all, before going into the lesson, you have to understand the hard words which are given in the lesson. First of all, you just go through the entire lesson, just have a small glance and mark the hard words which you find very hard to understand. If you find the hard words and understand it with the help of dictionary, you can easily understand the lesson and then you can understand the concept of the lesson, so that you need not memorize the lesson and you will just have everything in your mind and you can answer on your own. That is the style of CBSE learning. You should not just mug up the question and answers, and you should not give up the answers. You just go through the entire lesson, understand the entire concept, just have everything in your mind and answer in your own way. Just give an explanation in your own style. That is the style of CBSE learning. And history talks a lot, but you have to understand only the important concepts. So today we will get into the lesson. Before getting to the lesson, as we said, first of all we will have a small glance about the hard words which are given in the lesson. The first word, before that I have to tell you one thing. These hard words are not common words which I have taken. These words are taken in the first lesson alone. These words are given in the first lesson alone, and please take the note of the words. Cartographer. Cartographer means a person who designs a map of a country or map of a world. There are so many expert people who are designing maps, but it should be in a professional way and it should be very accurate. Those people who make maps are called cartographers. Please understand and make a note of it. Okay, the second word is modern nation state. There is a state, already there is state, and districts, but the state means a country. Here in India we say states, in Tamil we say Manilangal, but in the previous days, in the ancient days, we say state means it is a huge territory which is ruled by a king or a empire. So the modern nation state stands for a state of people who are ruling by themselves. But in ancient periods, there are states which are ruled by monarchs. Monarchs means a king will be ruling the country. Arasachi, அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். In modern nation states, the people will be having more powers. There will be democracy, and people will be able to choose their leaders. So that it is called modern nation state. And terminologies. Terminologies is nothing but word. Sol அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லையா? Terminologies means words. The new words, old words are called new terminologies and old terminologies. In your first paragraph in lesson 1, they are given new and old terminologies. Terminologies means words. And historians. You should understand about historians. Historians are professionals like doctors, engineers, like that. So historians are people who listen the entire events happening all over the year, all over the time of period. They are called historians. They used to make note of each and every event that is happening in the years, and they used to explain how it happened, when it happened, why it happened, and who are all involved in the event. So that is called historians. And geographer. Geographer, you can say that a historian make note of events, but a geographer is a person who is an expert in concluding a particular territory's climate, landform, ponds, hill stations, everything. That is called geographer. A geographer always very much known for assuming how the cyclones happen, how the rainfall occurs, what are the things in the mining, so that the landforms and the climate, etc., the people who are dealing about are called geographers. And manuscripts. Manuscripts are nothing but today we are using notebooks for writing. On that days there are no notebooks, there are no computers, nothing. On that days people used to write things in manuscripts. Manuscripts means in Tamil you call as Volai Chuvadigal. In palm leaves they used to write things so that it is called manuscripts. And pattern. Pattern means he is a wealthy person and who has very involvement in supporting the persons who are very poor and involved in artisans and poetry, so much of things. If a person is a poet and he is not very much economically sophisticated and he is suffering to publish a book or something, the patrons used to help the poet to publish a book or publish his poetry and he is doing artisan works. The person who is wealthy individual who supports the common people are called patrons. And the next word is caliphs. Caliphs means a leader. A leader, the Islamic religious people accept their leader and the leader is called as caliphs. And scribes. Scribes, you must know, nowadays in some examinations, even academic examinations, so many children are not able to write their examinations because they have no visual, they are visually impaired and some physically challenged children are there, so that they cannot write their examination on their own. For that they have substitutes for writing the examinations and the substitute is called as scribes because they cannot write, so that they rent or they recruit a new person to write on behalf of their own. So they are called as scribes. On the ancient days, there are manuscripts, I already told, and the manuscripts are not safe for storing for a long period of time. It will get damaged very immediately, so that the scribes copied manuscripts to paper, as we will see that later in the lesson. And periodization. What do you mean by the term periodization? Means if in a year, particular year, in an academic year, we used to periodize as quarterly, half-yearly and annual. In quarterly, we divide 3 months, and half-yearly we have 3 months, and annual exam we have 3 months period. But if a year is divided quarterly, it is called 3 months period, and in a decade it is 10 years of period. If half-yearly, it is 6 months of period. Annual means it is 12 months of period. So that dividing a particular period is called periodization, and it deals with time and a year. So that you can understand, I hope you understand the word periodization. It is very much important because this entire lesson deals about periodization of 1000 years. So we will go to the next word, chronicler. Chronicler means a person who is very much expert in writing a history of the king or of the monarch of the entire nation. He is a biographer or he is a history writer. The person on behalf of the monarch or on behalf of the king, he used to write the entire history without missing an event, without missing a statement. He writes the history. He is called a chronicler, and it is also known as chronicles. You might have heard. Chronicles means histories. Chronicler means who write histories. Okay. We will go to the next word, archives. Archives means a place where things are kept safely. For example, in a wallet you keep the money very safely, and in a locker you keep things very safely. For an example, a library is a place of books stored very safely. Where whatever things you keep safe in a particular place is called archive. So archive means that is a place or a particular area where things are stored. And inscriptions. Inscription means you might have seen in temples the kalvettugal appo Tamil la solluvom. In temples you might have seen so many things of history will be written in the wall. And deities. Deities means kadavulargal, deivangal. So many deities were worshipped by the ancient people. Deities means some goddess or god. Monasteries. In the ancient days, churches are called as monasteries. And significant. Significant means mukkiyathuvam vaindha. So mukkiyathuvam vaindha means some important, significant development in the history means குறிப்பிடத்தக்க முன்னேற்றங்கள் வரலாற்றில். Like that you have to understand. Significant means most important. Now we are entering into the lesson. So we will have a deep glance in the lesson. Tracing changes through 1000 years. That means the term 1000 years means 1000 years before and after. Before 1000 years, how was our India, and after the 1000 years, how was our India? That is our nation state. So the difference are described briefly. The term Hindustan, today India. Before 1000 years, so many poets and so many kings were there ruling our territory, and they used the term Hindustan, etc. So first of all, we will see the term Hindustan today was used in the 13th century as modern state by Minhaj I Siraj. But he is a chronicler from Persia, and he wrote the term Hindustan, and he described the term Hindustan in his chronicle, and it was written in Persian language, and the name of the chronicler was Minhaj I Siraj. He was an important chronicler, a notable chronicler who wrote the brief history about India in the 13th and 14th centuries. Babar used the term Hindustan to explain geography of India. That means fauna, culture and inhabitants. Babar, he is a famous ruler who used the term Hindustan to explain the geography. You should understand that the chronicler Minhaj I Siraj used to describe Hindustan as events, people and their ruling and their inhabitants. But the king Babar used the same term Hindustan to explain about the geographical divisions of India. That means territory. On the day there was no India, there was so many territories. Only today it was called as India. Before that it was called as Hindustan. He used the term Hindustan to describe the flora, fauna, culture and inhabitants. The flora and fauna means, flora is the term which is used to say the total of plant families, and the fauna means animal families. The term fauna is a common name for describing animal families, and culture means the habits of the people and their so many things they will be followed. For example, people in Tamil Nadu used to celebrate the marriage festivals in a particular way, and they will be having their own, that means rites and rituals. Sadangukkal appan solram illaya, that is called culture. And in Kerala they may follow different style of food habits, different style of celebrations, different style of festivals. So that the term Hindustan was used by the Babar to explain the fauna, that means the animal kingdoms which are present on that day in the particular territory, and the culture which are followed on that day, and the people who lived in the territory, and inhabitants. Inhabitants means the way of living, that means you call as lifestyle of the people on that particular centuries. That was explained by Babar. In 14th century, there was a famous poet who called Amit Khusro, used the word Hind, and you may feel that the Hindustan is often, you may find the word in history, and you may have a doubt that why India is called as Hindustan. It was described in 13th to 14th century itself by so many poets and so many kings, so that you need not have a doubt about the word Hindustan. The Amit Khusro, a famous poet, used the word Hind in the 14th century itself, and you will be having a particular paragraph called foreigner in the second paragraph. What is called foreigner, or who is called foreigner, means a person. Please understand, the term foreigner indicates that a particular person who does not belong to a particular society, or a particular person who is very new to the society, or a particular person who is not known by the particular area of the people, and he is completely unknown. He is not having our own identity. He is different from our identity. He is speaking different language, and he is having different way of attitude. Everything is different, and he is not known about our society. He is called stranger. A completely unknown person is called stranger. And in Hindi, you call foreigners as Pardes. Pardes means a person who is not known by our society. He belongs to a different society. He belongs to a different race, or belongs to a different ethnic group. Okay. In next paragraph in your lesson, they have given historians and their sources. Already we have seen historians are those people who are very much expert in writing, and they have very strong influence in their language, and they used to write about the history of the nation, the history of the king, and everything they used to write it in. And so that we have a facility to know more about our ancient periods. So that historians are very much important, and their sources. What are their sources? Sources means அவங்க எழுதுறதுக்கு எதெல்லாம் ஆதாரமா இருந்தது. ஆதாரங்கள் is called as sources. They should have something as evidence for writing. ஆதாரங்கள், you best remember. So that historians and their sources, only with the sources they can write more detail. Without sources they cannot give a clear explanation. So the sources are coins. That means historians of today. Today historians, if in some villages you might have read in newspaper, they found treasury. That means புதையல் அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க இல்லையா. Treasuries they found often, very often in digging borewells or in digging their farms, they found so much of treasury. And after getting the treasury, nowadays the historians used to say which period the treasury belongs to. அதாவது எந்த காலத்தை சேர்ந்த சிலை அல்லது எந்த காலத்தை சேர்ந்த காயின். Like that our historians have briefing. How the historians tell very accurately about the period the coin belongs to, means it is a separate way of knowing. That means in carbon testing method they say, but on the previous days they don't have any facility of doing carbon testing method. Only the knowledge of the historians help to read about the histories. So nowadays the historians and their sources are coins, inscriptions. Inscription means, already we have said, it is called as kalvettugal. In temples and in so many places you would have seen that in a particular rock wall they used to write so many details, and the details are called inscriptions. And architecture. Architecture means in a particular period. For example, we will have in 1800s, people used to build temples or build some buildings in a particular way of style. In before 1700s, people used to construct their buildings and temples in a particular way of style. Before 1000 years, people used to construct their buildings in a different way of style. By seeing the style of the building, by seeing the style of the temple, they used to assume that a particular people from the dynasty used to build this architecture, and the particular dynasty people lived in the particular year. They know how to separate. So it is very much important to look after the architecture. For example, in India architecture is very much different. In Gulf countries architecture is very much different. In France architecture is very much different. Why I am saying France? Because the France and Italy is well known for their architecture, and India is also worldwide famous for their architecture. And so that by seeing a architecture they can assume which country architecture this was, and who are the people, or who the people from dynasties built this architecture, they used to know. And textual records. Only by textual records, some chroniclers used to write the histories. By the textual records we may know to find which particular period the king ruled the country, and so many details we can find it out. And the paper, after a long period of time, in 700 to 1750, the inventions, new inventions came into existence. In the important invention was paper, and only because of the invention of paper, nowadays we used to read more articles and we used to know more things about the past. The paper became more important, cheaper and widely usable, so that people used paper very much. People used to write holy text. Holy text means today nowadays we call Idihasangal, we say Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Quran, Bible are some of the holy text we may know. People used to write holy text, letters. Letters means on that days they used letters to pass a message from one king to another king. Nowadays we used to write letters for our relatives, friends, etc., etc., etc. And teaching of saints. Teaching of saints means so many saints were there, and the saints used to give so many advice for the well-being of the people, and those advices were written in the paper for the future use. and petitions. Petition means you have to understand that in a particular area or a particular person is doing a crime means or is violating the rules means you will be giving a complaint to the authority, to the district authority or the state authority, to the particular authority that is called a petition. For example, if a person is committing a crime in your area, you will be giving a complaint in a written format to your nearby police station or your nearby collectorate is called the petition. And judicial records. Judicial records are the records which are maintained in the courts. That means நீதித்துறை அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, கோர்ட். அந்த கோர்ட்ல that means in judicial records means the records which are maintained in the court by the advocates, judges and so many people. Chronicles of rulers means the king used to write his own biography for the future use. So many people in the future should know about their history. So that chronicles are written about the rulers. That means அரசரை பற்றிய வரலாறுகள் எழுதப்பட்டது. That is called chronicles. And so manuscripts are collected. After the invention of paper, the manuscript should be preserved or should be converted for the future use, because manuscripts will be damaged by the insects very easily and it cannot be preserved for a long period of time. So that the manuscripts should be converted into books, that means textual records. So that the manuscripts are very eagerly collected by so many people, and it is with the help of scribes. With the help of scribes, the manuscripts are converted into books. Already we said that a scribe is a person who copy text from one source to another. A scribe on the days are called because the scribes used to collect manuscripts, and from the manuscript they extract the details and write into the paper and preserve for the future use. They are called as scribes. And miniature painting. In so many temples and in so many inscriptions, you might see very small images or very small pictures which is sculptured, and that pictures in the specific measurement are called miniatures. That means if a picture is drawn within the 10.5 centimeter into 7.1 centimeter measurement, it is called as a miniature. Miniature means a very small painting. And you may take an example, if a picture is drawn in the postcard size, it can be called as miniature painting, because this is the size of postcard, 10.5 centimeter into 7.1 centimeter. So a very small size printing is called a miniature. In the period between 700 to 1750, between the 1000 years, so many of the new inventions came into existence, and those inventions are very important even to these days. Large scale of development in the happened in the period of 700 to 1750. The very important irrigations we listed here. Persian wheel irrigation. Persian wheel irrigation means the wheel which is invented by the Persians and used for irrigation. The term irrigation means நீர்ப்பாசன வசதிகள். In the agricultural fields, you used to pour water for the growth of plants, so that it is called as irrigation. That means நீர்ப்பாசன வசதிகள், you say in Tamil. Spinning wheel in weaving. Spinning wheel means on those days, previous days, our nation of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, used a spinning wheel to weave our own clothes. So in Tamil we say that ratai. He used to spin in those cloths in the ratai. So that is called spinning wheel in weaving. And firearms in combat. Firearms means vedi porukal. Vedi porukal means in guns you use bullets nowadays, but before in the ancient days they doesn't use bullets. Instead of bullets they used to say that ravai, gundu ravaigal. So that is called firearms in combat. All those explosives are called firearms. And combat means war, struggle, etc. used to say. That means war nadakudhu, that is called as combat. New food and beverages. Whenever latest the inventions came out, all those new food and beverages used to come into existence. New food means the way of making our food. For instance, we use so many food items nowadays, but these food items are not available on those days, because on those days their food items and their beverages are very much different. Beverages means the things which used to drink tea, coffee, like that we use that things are called beverages. In nowadays we use different style of beverages, and those days they used different style of beverages. And the invention of potatoes, chili, tea and coffee were introduced. Till now we are using these things, but it was introduced in the period of 700 to 1750. In the modern period of time, as of now, people have got much more civilized, and people are able to move from one place to another seeking for opportunities. For example, nowadays people from villages used to go to the towns for job opportunities and so many business opportunities. Like that, on that days in the 14th century, the people got more civilized after some inventions, and the people started moving from one place to another for seeking opportunities, or to earn, or to get more civilized, or get more educated, or to get job opportunities. Like that, in the 14th century, people started mobilizing from one place to another. On that particular period of time, a particular people who belongs to a particular term, that means a group of people named themselves Kshatriyas for performing their histories in war. That means commanders under chieftains, rulers, soldiers, like that. The kings used to call the soldiers commanders and the other rulers as Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas means, in Tamil we used to say Kshatriyan. யார் போர்ல கலந்துக்கிறாங்களோ, யார் சண்டைக்கு போருக்கு போறாங்களோ அவங்கள நம்ம என்ன சொல்லுவோம்னா சத்திரியர்கள் அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். அவங்க செய்யக்கூடிய வேலைகள் according to their work which are performed by the particular group of people are called as Kshatriyas. The particular work they performed was participating in the war, and they are very much known for their braveness and loyalty. And those kings, rulers, chieftains and commanders are called as Kshatriyas on that time. And so in Rajasthan, the people were called as Rajputs. That means Raja uடைய புத்திரர்கள், Rajaputras. In Rajasthan, they used to call them as Rajputs. They are also known very well for their braveness. Such like that, we saw so many things about this lesson, and particularly the period from 700 to 1750. If you have any doubts, anytime you may ask the doubts, and please, as I said before, have a very good influence in your language, have strong language knowledge. Only unless until if you have any knowledge based skills, you cannot understand history. Please have a dictionary along with you whenever you prepare a lesson, or whenever you have a doubt. Don't feel hesitate to go to help with the dictionary. Have a dictionary along with you always, and don't feel hesitated to ask a doubt to your teacher. At any time you may ask your doubts, and thank you for listening, and thank you for being my good audience. Thank you so much.